In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, Earth was just a small blue dot. For centuries, humans thought they were alone in the universe. But they were wrong. Very wrong. The year was 2150. Humans had finally made it to Mars and were starting to explore deeper into space. They didn't know it yet, but they were being watched. The Galactic Council, a group of powerful alien races, had kept an eye on Earth for a long time. The council met in a giant space station that looked like a shiny silver wheel. Inside, representatives from 100 different worlds sat around a big round table. They all looked very different. Some had blue skin, others had tentacles, and a few even glowed in the dark. At the head of the table sat High Counselor Zix, a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and eyes that changed color. He called the meeting to order with a loud bang of his gavel. "Fellow council members," Zix said, his eyes turning a deep purple, "we are here to discuss a growing problem. The humans of Earth." A murmur went through the crowd. Earth was a touchy subject. "But they're so primitive," shouted a small, furry alien. "They've barely left their own planet." Zix nodded. "That may be true, Counselor Fluff, but look at how fast they're moving." He waved one of his hands, and a big screen appeared in the middle of the room. It showed pictures of Earth's progress. First, there were old black and white photos of the first airplanes. Then, rockets going to the moon. Finally, it showed the new Mars colony, with its shiny domes and busy spaceport. In just 200 years, Zix continued, they've gone from horse-drawn carriages to interplanetary travel. No other race has advanced so quickly. The room grew quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. If humans kept going at this rate, they'd soon be out among the stars. And that could be dangerous. Counselor Blurb, a blob-like alien who always dripped slime, spoke up. "What if they're peaceful? Maybe we should welcome them." Zix shook his head. "We've studied their history. Humans are unpredictable. They fight wars over the silliest things. Religion, land, even the color of their skin. Can you imagine what they'd do if they knew about us?" The council members looked at each other nervously. They'd all heard stories about how fierce humans could be. "So what do we do?" asked a robot-like being in a metallic voice. Zix's eyes turned a deep red. "We have no choice. For the safety of the galaxy, we must keep Earth in check." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared. It showed a strange device, shaped like a pyramid. "This," Zix explained, "is the suppressor. It can slow down a planet's technology, make their machines stop working right. We'll put it in orbit around Earth. They'll never even know it's there." Most of the council nodded in agreement, but not everyone was happy. In a dark corner, a shadowy figure watched silently. This alien, known only as the Observer, had studied Earth more closely than anyone else. He knew that humans were more than just their wars and mistakes. They were also kind, creative, and incredibly stubborn. As the council voted to use the suppressor, the Observer slipped out of the room. He had to warn Earth somehow, because he knew one thing for sure. If pushed, humans wouldn't just give up. They would fight back. And when humans decided to fight, the galaxy had better watch out. The meeting ended, and the council members left, feeling like they'd solved a big problem. But they had no idea what they'd just started. Back on Earth, humans went about their day, not knowing that very soon, their whole world would change. Little did the Galactic Council know, their actions would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of their power. Earth's retaliation was coming, and it would be fierce indeed. The first sign that something was wrong came on a quiet Tuesday morning. At the Mars colony, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. Inside the main control room, people ran around in panic. "What's happening?" shouted Commander Sarah Chen. Her face was pale under the flashing red lights. A young technician looked up from his computer, his eyes wide with fear. "Commander, our systems are going crazy. Nothing's working right." Outside, the colony's shields flickered and died. The air recyclers sputtered and stopped. In just minutes, the proud Mars base turned into a death trap. Back on Earth, things weren't much better. In New York, all the traffic lights turned green at once. Cars crashed into each other. In Tokyo, elevators got stuck between floors. And in London, the famous Big Ben clock started running backward. At first, people thought it was just bad luck. But as the days went by, more and more things broke down. Phones stopped working. Computers crashed. Even simple machines like toasters and coffee makers gave up. The world's leaders met in an emergency meeting. They gathered in a big room in the United Nations building in New York. The room was full of worried faces and hushed whispers. "It has to be an attack," said the President of the United States, her voice shaking a little. But who could do this? And how? Nobody had an answer. Earth's best scientists worked day and night, trying to figure out what was going on. But every time they thought they were close to an answer, their computers would crash or their equipment would break. Then, 2 weeks after it all started, something even stranger happened. In a small town in Brazil, a farmer named João was walking in his field when he saw something odd. A patch of grass was moving, even though there was no wind. Curious, João bent down to look closer. Suddenly, the air shimmered and João fell backward in shock. Where there had been nothing but grass a moment ago, now stood a tall, strange-looking creature. The alien, for that's what it was, held up its hands to show it meant no harm. "Please," it said in perfect Portuguese, "I need to speak with your leaders. Earth is in danger." João, his heart pounding, nodded and pulled out his old flip phone, one of the few that still worked. Within hours, the news had spread around the world. An alien had come to Earth. The alien called itself the Observer. It was taken to the United Nations, where it told an incredible story. It spoke of the Galactic Council, of their fear of Earth's progress, and of the suppressor device that was causing all the problems. At first, many didn't believe it, but as the Observer explained more, things started to make sense. Why their technology was failing, why space missions had become impossible, why Earth seemed to be going backward instead of forward. The world's leaders listened in stunned silence. When the Observer finished, the room erupted in angry shouts and cries of disbelief. "We've been attacked," yelled one leader. "We must fight back," shouted another. But how could they fight? Their best weapons and ships didn't work anymore. Earth was defenseless. Or was it? In the back of the room, a young scientist named Dr. Anaya Patel stood up. "I think I know how we can beat this," she said quietly. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Patel took a deep breath and continued. "The suppressor affects our advanced tech. But what about our old tech? The stuff we used before computers. It might be our only chance." As the room buzzed with this new idea, far above the Earth, the suppressor continued its work. The Galactic Council thought they had won, but they had no idea what was coming. Earth was down, but not out, and humanity was about to show the galaxy just how fierce they could be. The world changed overnight. With modern technology failing, people had to adapt quickly. In cities across the globe, old skills came back to life. In New York, people rode horses down Broadway. In Tokyo, messengers on bicycles zipped between skyscrapers. And in London, the sound of typewriters filled office buildings once again. But while everyday life went back in time, something else was happening. Something secret. Deep underground, in an old Cold War bunker, Earth's leaders met. The room was lit by oil lamps, giving everything a warm, flickering glow. Maps covered the walls, and a large table dominated the center. At the head of the table sat General Maria Rodriguez, her face stern but determined. "All right," she said, her voice echoing in the quiet room. "What do we have?" Dr. Anaya Patel stood up, holding a thick notebook. "We've been testing old technologies," she said. "Anything from before the digital age seems to work fine. The suppressor doesn't affect them." A murmur of excitement went through the room. This was the first good news in weeks. "So what can we use?" asked the president of China, leaning forward eagerly. Dr. Petal smiled. "More than you might think. We're bringing back propeller planes, old radios, even hot air balloons. And we're not stopping there." She waved to an assistant, who unrolled a large blueprint on the table. Everyone leaned in to look. "This," Dr. Petal said proudly, "is our secret weapon. We're calling it the Analog Avenger." The blueprint showed a massive airship, like the Zeppelins of old, but with some key differences. Its outer skin was covered in a special material that absorbed radar. Inside, instead of passengers, it was packed with old-style bombs and missiles. "It's completely mechanical," Dr. Petal explained. "No computers, no electronics. The suppressor can't touch it." The room buzzed with excitement. For the first time since the crisis began, there was hope. But General Rodriguez raised a hand for silence. "This is good," she said, "but it's not enough. We need an army." And so, Operation Retro began. All over the world, in secret locations, people started training. In the Arizona desert, pilots learned to fly World War I fighter planes. In the forests of Germany, soldiers practiced with bolt-action rifles and hand-cranked radios. And in the mountains of Nippel, a special team trained to use hot air balloons for reconnaissance. But the biggest project of all was happening in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. On a secret island, hidden by thick fog, thousands of workers built a massive fleet of wooden ships. These weren't ordinary ships. They were designed by the best naval architects in the world, combining old designs with new ideas. They were faster than any wooden ship in history, and armed with powerful, spring-loaded catapults that could launch explosives farther than anyone thought possible. As the months passed, Earth's hidden army grew stronger, but they weren't the only ones preparing. The Observer, the alien who had warned Earth about the Galactic Council, worked tirelessly with human scientists. Together, they created a special device. It couldn't stop the suppressor, but it could send a short, powerful burst of energy into space, just enough to disable the suppressor for a few crucial minutes. One night, as the northern lights danced in the sky, General Rodriguez stood on a hill overlooking the secret shipyard. Hundreds of wooden ships bobbed in the harbor, their masts reaching towards the stars. Next to her stood Dr. Petal and the Observer. They watched in silence as workers loaded the last of the supplies onto the ships. "Are we ready?" General Rodriguez asked, her voice quiet but firm. Dr. Petal nodded. "As ready as we'll ever be." The Observer turned its alien eyes to the sky. "The Council won't know what hit them," it said. General Rodriguez took a deep breath. Tomorrow, they would launch their attack. Tomorrow, humanity would show the galaxy what they were made of. As the three figures stood on the hill, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Whether it was a sign of good luck or a warning of things to come, only time would tell. The day of reckoning arrived with a blood-red sunrise. On the secret island base, tension filled the air. Thousands of soldiers, sailors, and pilots prepared for battle. Their weapons were old, but their spirits were high. General Rodriguez stood on the deck of the flagship, a massive wooden vessel named Humanity's Hope. She raised a bullhorn to her lips. Today, her voice boomed, "We fight not just for Earth, but for our right to exist among the stars." A mighty cheer went up from the fleet. Horns blared, and drums beat a thunderous rhythm. The great ships raised their anchors and set sail, their wooden hulls creaking with purpose. High above, the Analog Avenger airship floated silently, its gray bulk hidden against the clouds. Inside, Dr. Petal and a team of scientists made final adjustments to their secret weapon, the device to temporarily disable the suppressor. As the fleet approached the coordinates the Observer had provided, an eerie calm settled over the ocean. Then, suddenly, the sky lit up with strange, otherworldly colors. "They'd spotted us," shouted a lookout. Alien ships, sleek and silent, appeared out of nowhere. They were like nothing Earth had ever seen before, glowing with an unearthly light. General Rodriguez grabbed her old-fashioned radio. "All ships, prepare for battle. Remember your training." The alien ships fired first. Beams of energy sliced through the air, but to everyone's surprise, they passed harmlessly through the wooden ships. The old technology was invisible to their advanced targeting systems. "Now," yelled Rodriguez, "fire everything we've got." The human fleet sprang to life. Catapults launched barrels of gunpowder high into the air. When they exploded, they released clouds of metal shavings that clung to the alien ships, disrupting their energy fields. World War I planes roared out of the clouds, their propellers spinning furiously. They dropped nets made of simple rope and metal, tangling the alien ships' delicate sensors. The battle was chaos. Alien energy beams crisscrossed with trails of human bullets. Wooden ships rammed into sleek metal hulls. Hot air balloons floated above, dropping simple but effective explosives. In the analog Avenger, Dr. Patel watched the battle unfold. "It's working," she shouted. "Their advanced tech is useless against our old weapons." But the aliens were quick to adapt. They started ramming the wooden ships, splintering them with brute force. "We're taking heavy losses," Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio. "We need to take out that suppressor now." Dr. Patel nodded to her team. "It's time," she said. With the push of a lever, the analog Avenger's belly opened. A massive brass and iron device dropped out, trailing a long cable. As it fell, gears inside it began to spin faster and faster. Just before it hit the water, the device let out a tremendous pulse of energy. It shot straight up, past the battling ships, beyond Earth's atmosphere, and struck the invisible suppressor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, all at once, every piece of human technology roared back to life. On the ocean, modern battleships shimmered into existence, their cloaking devices finally working again. In orbit, Earth's space stations powered up, unleashing a barrage of advanced weapons. The alien fleet, caught by surprise, began to retreat, but Earth wasn't done yet. From the depths of the ocean, submarines that had been lying in wait surfaced, launching missiles at the fleeing ships, and from hidden bases around the world, swarms of fighter jets took to the skies. As the alien ships disappeared into space, a triumphant cheer went up from the human fleet. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had fought back and won their first battle against the Galactic Council. But General Rodriguez didn't celebrate. She knew this was just the beginning. As she watched the stars, where the alien ships had vanished, she whispered, "Round one to us." But the real war has just begun. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. On countless worlds, aliens of all shapes and sizes huddled around view screens, watching in disbelief as replays of the battle showed human wooden ships defeating the Council's advanced fleet. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. High Counselor Zix's eyes flashed a panicked yellow as he tried to restore order. "Silence," he shouted, his forearms waving frantically. "We must not panic." But panic they did. Some council members called for immediate peace talks with Earth. Others demanded an all-out war to crush the humans once and for all. In the midst of the shouting, a small purple alien named Blip stood up. "Friends," he said, his voice surprisingly loud for his size, "perhaps we've made a terrible mistake." The room fell silent. Blip continued, "We feared the humans because they were different. But look what they did when we tried to hold them back. Maybe we should learn from them instead of fearing them." His words struck a chord. Many council members nodded in agreement, but not everyone was convinced. Councillor Drax, a warlike species known for their tough scales and tougher attitudes, growled, "Weakness. We should crush these humans before they become a real threat." The council chamber erupted into argument once again, but this time, the debate spread beyond their walls. Across the galaxy, other alien races began to question the Council's decisions. On the desert world of Xantar, the sand-dwelling Xantarians held massive rallies in support of Earth. Their leader, Grand Dune Shifter Karath, declared, "If the humans can stand up to the Council, so can we." In the crystal cities of Lumina, the light-based life forms known as photons started a movement called Enlighten the Galaxy, calling for more open communication between all species. Even on worlds loyal to the Council, people began to whisper. They shared stories of human bravery, passing around blurry images of Earth's wooden ships and simple weapons. The Observer, who had helped Earth prepare for the battle, now found itself in high demand. Alien journalists from 1,000 worlds sought interviews, eager to learn more about the mysterious humans. "They are not what you think," the Observer told a crowd on the news planet Broadcastia. "Humans are complex. Yes, they can be violent, but they're also capable of great kindness and creativity. They deserve a chance to join us among the stars." As the galactic political landscape shifted, Earth wasn't standing still. With the suppressor destroyed, human technology leaped forward. Scientists worked around the clock, combining their own advanced tech with ideas gleaned from the alien ships they captured. In orbit around Earth, a new space station took shape. Unlike the sleek, sterile designs favored by most alien races, this station was a hodgepodge of styles. Solar panels jutted out at odd angles, while parts of it were covered in what looked like wooden planks. It was ugly, but it worked incredibly well. General Rodriguez, now promoted to Earth's first space admiral, stood in the station's control room. She looked out at the stars, her face a mix of pride and worry. "They're out there," she said to Dr. Patel, who stood beside her. "And they're not all friendly." Dr. Patel nodded. "But we're not alone either. Look." She pointed to a screen showing incoming transmissions. Messages of support were pouring in from all over the galaxy. Some offered alliance, others asked for Earth's help in standing up to the Council. "We've started something big," Dr. Patel said softly. Admiral Rodriguez squared her shoulders. "Then we better be ready for what comes next." As if in answer, alarms began to blare. A junior officer rushed up, his face pale. "Admiral, we're detecting a massive fleet entering the solar system. It's the Council. They're coming in force." Rodriguez and Patel shared a grim look. The next phase of the war was about to begin. And this time, the whole galaxy would be watching. The sky above Earth turned into a light show like no one had ever seen. Thousands of alien ships, each one a different color and shape, filled the space around the planet. It was the Council's full might, come to crush the human rebellion once and for all. But Earth wasn't alone anymore. As the Council fleet approached, hundreds of ships from other alien races jumped into the system. The Xantarians arrived in ships that looked like swirling sandstorms. The photons came in vessels made of pure light, and dozens of other species, inspired by Earth's stand against the Council, joined the fight. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, the Unity. It was a strange-looking ship, part advanced tech, part wooden sailing vessel. But it was the most powerful ship humans had ever built. "All ships, report in," Rodriguez commanded. One by one, the captains of Earth's fleet sounded off. There were high-tech battleships, wooden vessels armed with energy cannons, and even a squadron of space-worthy hot air balloons carrying nasty surprises for the enemy. Dr. Patel's voice came over the comm. "Admiral, the Analog Avenger is ready. We've upgraded it with some of our new tech. It should be able to disrupt the Council's communications." Rodriguez nodded. "Launch when ready, Doctor, and good luck." The battle began with a flash of light so bright it was seen on Earth's surface. Council ships fired their advanced weapons, while Earth and its allies responded with a mix of high-tech beams and good old-fashioned explosives. In the thick of the fight, the Unity led the charge. Rodriguez gripped her chair as the ship dodged and weaved through enemy fire. "Now," she shouted, "deploy the secret weapon." From the Unity sides, huge sails unfurled. But these weren't ordinary sails. They were made of a special material that absorbed energy weapons and redirected them back at the enemy. The Council ships, not expecting this, fell into disarray. Their own weapons turned against them, creating chaos in their ranks. Meanwhile, the analog Avenger moved silently through the battle. When it reached the heart of the Council fleet, it unleashed a powerful burst of energy. Suddenly, half the Council ships lost power, floating helplessly in space. But the Council had tricks of its own. A massive ship, easily 10 times the size of the Unity, emerged from behind Mars. It was High Counselor Zix's personal battleship. "Attention, humans and traitors," Zix's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Surrender now, or face total annihilation." For a moment, the battle paused. Everyone waited to see what Earth would do. Admiral Rodriguez stood up, her face set with determination. "Zix," she said, her voice calm but strong, "we gave you a chance to leave us alone. You chose war. Now we'll show you why that was a mistake." She turned to her crew. "All ships, initiate Operation Trojan Horse." Suddenly, the wooden ships in Earth's fleet began to change. Their wooden exteriors fell away, revealing sleek, advanced ships underneath. They had been a decoy, hiding Earth's true technological progress. The Council fleet, caught off guard once again, didn't stand a chance. Earth ships, combining the best of old and new tech, tore through their defenses. The Unity went straight for Zix's ship. In a daring move, Rodriguez ordered them to ram the massive vessel. The Unity's strange design, part wood and part advanced alloys, allowed it to pierce the Council ship's shields. As alarms blared around him, Zix realized he had lost. His eyes turned a defeated gray as Rodriguez and a team of human soldiers burst onto his bridge. "It's over, Zix," Rodriguez said. "Call off your fleet." With shaking hands, Zix reached for his communications panel. "All Council ships," he said, his voice trembling. "Stand down. The war is over. We surrender." As the Council ships powered down their weapons, a cheer went up across the Earth fleet and their allies. Against all odds, humanity had won. But as Rodriguez looked out at the stars, she knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new chapter for Earth and the entire galaxy. 1 year after the Great Battle, the galaxy looked very different. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, once a place of fear and secrecy, was now open to all. Sunlight streamed through newly installed windows, symbolizing a new era of transparency. At the center of the room stood a large round table. Aliens of all shapes and sizes sat around it, discussing the future of the galaxy. And there, in a seat of honor, sat Admiral Rodriguez, representing Earth. "Order, please," called out the new council leader, a wise old Santarian named Karath. His sand-like body sparkled in the light. "We're here to finalize the new galactic charter." The room fell silent. This was a historic moment. Dr. Patel, now Earth's lead scientist on alien relations, stood up. "We propose a charter based on mutual respect and shared knowledge," she said. "No more suppressing younger races. No more hoarding of technology. We grow stronger together, not apart." Many council members nodded in agreement, but not everyone was happy. Drax, the scaly warrior who had called for Earth's destruction, growled. "And what's to stop these humans from becoming the new tyrants? They defeated us too easily." Rodriguez stood, her face calm, but her eyes fierce. "We don't want to rule the galaxy, Drax. We want to explore it, learn from it. Yes, we can fight when we need to, but we'd rather make friends." To prove her point, she pulled out an old Earth device, a simple kaleidoscope. She passed it around the table. One by one, the aliens looked through it, gasping in wonder at the beautiful patterns. "Sometimes," Rodriguez said, "the simplest things can bring the most joy. We want to share our culture, our art, our music with you all, and we want to learn yours in return." The mood in the room shifted. Even Drax seemed thoughtful as he peered through the kaleidoscope. Graf spoke up. The humans have shown us that progress doesn't always mean discarding the old. Their mix of old and new technologies won the war. Perhaps this philosophy can help us build a better galaxy. The vote was taken. With an overwhelming majority, the new Galactic Charter was approved. The era of fear and suppression was over. A new age of cooperation and shared growth had begun. As the meeting ended, aliens from across the galaxy mingled freely. The Observer, now a respected diplomat, chatted with a group of young aliens eager to visit Earth. In one corner, a human taught a group of photons how to play chess, their light bodies flickering with excitement. Rodriguez and Patel stood by a large window, looking out at the stars. "Did you ever imagine this?" Patel asked, gesturing at the diverse crowd. Rodriguez shook her head, smiling. "Never. But I'm glad we're here." Just then, a small alien child approached them. It looked up with big, curious eyes. "Is it true?" it asked in a squeaky voice. "On Earth, you have things called ice cream and roller coasters." Rodriguez laughed. "It's true. Would you like to visit sometime and try them?" The child's eyes lit up, literally, as it was a young photon. "Oh yes, please." As the child scampered off to tell its friends, Patel turned to Rodriguez. "You know, there's still so much to do. Setting up exchange programs, sharing technologies safely, making sure no one tries to take advantage." Rodriguez nodded. "It won't be easy, but look how far we've come already." She gazed out at the stars again. "The galaxy's a big place, but I think we've made it a little bit smaller and a whole lot friendlier." As they watched, a ship took off from the spaceport below. It was headed to Earth, carrying the first official delegation of alien tourists. A new chapter had begun, not just for humanity, but for all the peoples of the galaxy. The stars twinkled brightly, as if celebrating this new era of peace, friendship, and shared adventure.